Welcome back to Studio F on Fast Times Willy B. We'll continue through the Rocky franchise with Rocky 4. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Q. Russell.
Welcome back to Fast Times Willy B. I'm Willy B. I've got Keaton back with me. Keaton, how are we doing today?
Pretty good, Will. How are you?
Doing well. So we tackled the first three. Now we're here. We're going to tackle the last three. And we've got Rocky 4. Stepping to 1985. So we're in full swing 80s now. And if you couldn't tell with this movie,
it really throws it in your face.
Yeah. But nonetheless, we got Sylvester Stallone still in the director's chair for one more.
Yeah.
We've got Sylvester Stallone back as Rocky. We got Talia Shire. We've got Burt Young. We got Carl Weathers, and we got Dolph Lundgren, who is a great addition to the Rocky franchise.
Absolutely.
But we'll start with the good. And once again, this I know you might have some things to say in the negative aspect, but this is another one for me. 1, 2, and 4 are the three that I just have nothing bad to say about them.
Well, I mean, 4, that was your first Rocky, wasn't it?
Yes. So this one has the most nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with what most people hate, and that's the robot. I love the robot scene, man.
It's funny.
It's very 80s.
It adds comedic relief
Yeah.
to the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But, like, outside of, the goofiness, we've got another, fun boxing story. We've got Carl Weathers I should say Apollo Creed is in his pool retired, and there's this new Russian phenom taking over the boxing stage, ready to come to America, and he wants Rocky, obviously, because Rocky's the man at this point.
Yeah.
Apollo says, let me exhibition him and show him what it's like, to fight in America.
Right.
And things go wrong. You get the iconic line.
Oh, shoot.
If he dies, he dies.
Yes. Yeah. He goes, I've defeated the real champion. If he dies, he dies.
Yes.
That was insane when I was watching that. I mean, this guy doesn't have any emotion.
No.
He
He's
basically
a robot.
He killed a man.
Yeah.
And, doesn't regret it one bit.
No. He definitely comes off as a robotic being.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time watching this with my dad, and that scene was, heavy. When I watched it, because not seeing the first three is definitely wild of me, but from what you see in the first 30 minutes of this movie, you get the gist that Apollo and Rocky are best friends.
Absolutely.
And how much they mean to each other, and just too with Tony Burton, throw the damn towel.
Right.
And he's
and
everyone's
yelling at Rocky
and
throw
Rocky's
that towel.
and you hear Apollo saying, "If you throw that towel." And Rock,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so well shot, that fight, that it just adds to the emotion.
So now, funny thing is, I've seen both versions of this movie. Have you seen both versions?
No, I didn't even know that there wasn't recut of this.
There's a director's cut.
Yeah.
So what was it? It was 2021. Sylvester Stallone, he kind of wanted to recut this movie into what he really wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had to cut for time with the original movie. They had to keep it under 90 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched both versions, and there's things I like about each one.
Mm-hmm. I heard the two big differences are
they cut the robot out.
They cut the robot out, yes, and the funeral for Apollo's longer.
And the thing that I'll be honest, I prefer the original cut of the movie.
Okay.
I prefer the original. The one thing that I really liked about the director's cut, and the one thing that I know eventually we're going to tackle, the things we didn't care for Rocky 4. One of the things that I do like that they fixed in the director's cut was they made Apollo's funeral scene a lot more emotional.
Yeah.
I don't know have you ever seen the clip of Rocky where he's he's crying, he's got the sunglasses on, he's like, everything I got is because of you. And,
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
And that part, that made me cry.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when Apollo dies in the regular cut of the movie, I just felt for a big character like that, it wasn't emotional enough. And it went by really quick.
It is quick. It still gets me. I mean, if you haven't learned by now, I'm a softie When it comes to emotion, I'm crying when this guy's winning the fight because I'm happy for him. So
yeah.
I'm just a crier. So it got me, and I do want to go back now that I know that there's a director. I literally found out earlier today.
Really?
The director's cut, yeah.
Yeah, Turbo told me at work because I went and watched it.
He's who texted me and told me.
Yeah, every movie I watch, I pretty much go to work and tell Turbo, hey, I watched this one. He's like, dude, tell me, what do you think?
Yeah.
And after I told him about this, he was like, now you got to watch the director's cut. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
went and watched it that night.
Yeah, he told me about it today, and I was like, man, I wish I had time. But before we were recording, I was like, I just don't have time. But yeah, I mean, the emotion of that still gets me. And then, from there, you've got the conflict of the ever-going conflict of Rocky and Adrian. Adrian always wants him to hang it up, and he's got to keep going. And this leads into what is my favorite training montage.
It is. It's the best.
Yes, the Russian training montage, to me, is the best because I love the dynamic we get back and forth between Rocky and his, almost primal, before technology workouts routines of using wheelbarrows.
Compared to Drago connected to all these machines and literally injecting him with juice and it's just a complete opposite.
And
it's
as
a nice
we're watching
contrast.
too, Rocky's growing the beard and it's just and
oh my gosh, when he's climbing the mountain,
yes,
and he gets to the top and he's like Drago,
yes, and on top of the mountain you get the jump too,
yes,
and it's so good,
so good. I'm getting pumped.
Yeah,
just talking about it.
See, something else that this movie has in the good for me. So in the first 3 movies were very score driven. This one is very soundtrack driven. So we get a lot of original songs for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
We got obviously Gonna Fly Now is still heavily present as far as the score goes, but we got Survivor made another song, but no Easy Way Out. We've got Heart on Fire. Burning.
All classics.
Burning Heart. All classics.
And it's funny, I've heard all those songs, in the past many times. Never did I think that they were made directly for Rocky.
Yeah. So soundtrack is definitely good for me.
It's like the best.
Yeah, this is the best one. I mean, this is like a workout soundtrack.
Yeah.
That you can just boot. I'm working out after we record. I'm probably gonna boot up this soundtrack.
Oh, same here.
About it. But it's just...
Well, that's a nice thing about... if you need the motivation to work out, watch the Rocky movies.
Honestly.
Because, every time I watch these movies, I'm like, I gotta hit the gym now.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But, man, that soundtrack is so good, and it goes along so well with the training montage, too. And just throughout the movie, I mean, we get Living in America, obviously, before...
Yeah, James Brown.
Yeah, before the Apollo fight, which is just an iconic scene.
It is.
And then, we get some songs overlaid when it's him thinking about his past with Apollo, and we get flashbacks of him and Adrian, and it's just, I love those montages, man. They get me every time. And then, obviously, in the good, the fight. I mean...
Oh, the fight is just, it is so epic.
The first 3 movies have some of the best fight choreography you'll get in any boxing movie, and this still might be my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I like about this one, they really bring in, speaking of montages, half of the fight is a montage.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way the scenes just kind of fade into each other. Mm-hmm. Literally, and it's to the tempo of the music too, which is so cool. One scene, it's fading in, and Rocky's punching Drago and he's going this way. The next scene fades in, Drago's fighting or punching Rocky's going the other way. I mean, it's just so cool.
Yeah, and then obviously you get some fun lines in this too. I'm seeing 3 of them out there. Hit the one in the middle.
That's right. Hit the one in the middle. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, and that's another thing. So the thing about the director's cut. So going into that one, I thought it was going to be way longer. Mm. No, it's pretty much the same length because Stallone not only did he add in a lot more dialogue, more scenes, he took scenes out.
Okay.
And one of the lines that he took out was Duke going, right, hit the one in the middle. He doesn't say that in the director's cut. So I'm like,
that's one of the good ones.
Yeah, he cuts out a lot of stuff, and that's why I'm just kind of honestly, I kind of like the original.
Yeah, see, I don't know if I'd like... I do want to watch the funeral scene, and I told Turbo I would because he sent me a link to the funeral scene.
That one made me cry.
But there's something about the robot that has charm, man. It makes it pure 80s gold. This is just again one for me that's very nostalgic. Um, and it was one, honestly, when I revisited as I was older, I would fear that I liked less just because I knew the chirping around it. Like, it's a good movie, but it's not what the first three are. Or, I mean, some people like it more, a lot of people like it more than the third. I should say the first two.
Yeah.
But honestly, rewatching, revisiting it, I liked it even more. Like, this is another Rocky movie I adore. And I mean, if you haven't caught on by now, this is one of my favorite franchises.
Oh, yeah.
If I ever need a pick-me-up, watching at least the first four Rockies is like something I do.
The thing I like about this movie is, like, you know, some could say it's a little much, but, like, this movie's kind of different compared to the others, you know, the ones before it, the predecessors. You know, because this one almost feels like a superhero movie.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this one's about, like, basically the Cold War.
Yeah, it's war propaganda at its finest.
Yeah, I mean, you got America, Rocky, then you got the USSR, Drago, and, like, you know, it's funny because some people like to say, oh, well, you know, Rocky stops the Cold War in this one. I'm like, well, no, he doesn't really stop it, you know, but, you know,
he does what he can. He does his part, you know?
He gave it a little push, but, you know. No, I love that, though. I love that it's like, you know, I mean, it's funny because you just told me the other day, I've listened to Burning Heart, I don't know how many times, but I never really focused on the lyrics, and you were like, you know, this is made about the Cold War, right? And I went, really?
Yeah.
And, you know, I started listening to the lyrics, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that is, that's literally the Cold War.
Two worlds collide, rival nations. Yeah. It's a primitive match. Yeah, dude.
It's so good.
It's, and I told you, too, like, that is my favorite Survivor song.
It's good.
I know. Eye of the Tiger's just, it's iconic, but man, Burning Heart's like the one I find myself listening to more.
Yeah, they're hand in hand with me. Like, it's hard for me to pick either or.
And then No Easy Way Out makes me want to run through a brick wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude. This whole soundtrack does. This is, it's tough because, like, I always say, now that the more I've gotten older, the more I say I like one more than four. And I'd say one is my favorite movie in the franchise if I had to rank them.
It has more meaning.
And one is the better movie.
Yeah.
But man, most of my life, four was my favorite.
Yeah.
And it's because it's pure entertainment. That's what it is.
I mean, like, yeah, it's not that original story, him coming from nothing and hitting it big. No, he's big now. Yeah. And now he's fighting like this big bad, you know, it's just entertaining to watch.
And then the fight being on Christmas too adds to it. I love that. And the flashbacks we get to, or not flashbacks, but the cuts we get to his son watching it.
Yes.
with the Christmas decorations up.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I'm sorry, we're kind of jumping around here, but I'm just thinking of stuff that I love about this movie.
Yeah.
You know, another thing I love about this movie, Drago. I mean, honestly, Drago might actually be my favorite opponent.
Yes, he's mine.
Yeah. I mean, he's the most intimidating.
Apollo Creed's great, but they become friends, and I think that kind of, like, not hinders it, because I think that's great for pushing the story.
Oh, yeah.
But Drago, in my opinion, he's the most like a villain.
So,
like how you said this is a superhero movie, he's a villain, man.
He's a super villain. I mean,
he killed his best friend. Mm-hmm. Yes, he's a villain, and I agree. Drago's my favorite villain.
Well, and it's
favorite opponent.
Yeah. When it's like, so, Clubber Lang. And, you know, Clubber Lang intimidated me in a different way because he was loud and just in your face, you know, screaming at you. You know, Drago intimidates me in another way because he's, like, not human. Yeah. I mean, he's like a propaganda machine. Yeah. You know, and that's the thing I like is that the Soviet Union, they're pretty much using him and manipulating him as, like, a propaganda machine. Yeah. To push their agenda. Yeah. And I love, like, at that final fight when his manager, who's, like, sitting up with the government, you know, up in their little box, he comes down because he's pissed off. And he comes down and he looks at him and he's like, he's calling him an idiot, like, you were supposed to win this. And I love the look he gives him. He grabs him with the glove, puts him up, and he throws him into the crowd. And he goes, I'm going to win for me. And he looks up at the government and he's like, for me. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah. He's like doing it for himself.
And speaking in Russian, too, just adds to
I mean, I would love to replicate it
but
in Russian.
But it just, like, adds to the oomph.
Oh.
For sure.
Great.
Something on the fight that I love is when Rocky draws blood for the first time.
Yes.
And they're like, he's cut. He's human. Like, you know, the
oh my God, Duke. He's like, that's right. He's not a machine.
Yeah.
He's a man.
Yeah. Yes, man.
I'm like,
it's so good.
I love it. I'm getting so pumped up just talking about it.
But yeah, man, that fight is so good. This whole movie's just in the good for me again.
Yeah.
Paulie's Paulie once again, you know. He
kind of
does his thing.
Kind of redeems himself at the end, you know, from what he was in the first film. You know, when Rocky's going into that final fight, you know, he tells Rocky, he's like, you know, I'm not the one for this kind of talk, but you know, if I could jump out of my clothes and be anyone, it'd be you.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, he's like about to go and fight Drago, and he's like, you know, when I told you I'd like to be you, forget it.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
Yeah. Burt Young is so good, and
it's great.
Great comic relief. Once again, the acting is all in the good.
Absolutely.
This one for me, the aesthetic and the cinematography and all of that falls into the good category. It's another one that I love watching. This one, obviously, a little more over the top, less grimy feel because he's made it big. He has the mansion. They have the robot. But this one definitely dives into that 80s feel, and I love...
Absolutely. I mean, if you love the 80s, you're going to love this movie.
I do. Everybody who knows me knows the 80s is my shit.
Absolutely.
So
you got the hoverboard from Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah. But, so that was, you know, just having that splash into it, too, and couple it with what I think is one of the most iconic soundtracks ever.
Absolutely.
It's just another good Rocky movie, man. Another great Rocky movie.
It's amazing.
But anything else in the good for you?
I think we pretty much covered most of it.
Yeah. For me, it's everything.
Yeah. I do have a couple things, you know. I did kind of mention one.
Do you have just meh, or do you have any bad?
I would say meh.
Okay.
Not really bad.
So we'll hop to the meh then. And Keaton, I'll hear what you say, and then I'll give my opinion on what you say.
So I'll be honest, like my only issue really with the movie was I thought the pacing's really quick.
It is.
I think this could have easily been like, I mean, how long was this movie?
I think it's an hour 40.
Is it an hour 40?
I want to say it's 99 minutes, so like an hour
39. I feel like it could have had 20 more minutes.
Yeah.
That's just me. I mean,
I think the first two are 2 hours, and then the third one cuts down to an hour half. I think this one's an hour 40.
I feel like it could have been a little longer.
Okay.
You know, when I was watching the first act of the movie, you know, it just moves very quick.
It does.
It's not always bad, but like it does move really quick, and that's why like you know,
the added funeral scene. And
the
stuff.
funeral scene, I just felt like it went by way too quick.
That's fair
for such a big character. I was like, I feel like they could have turned this 3-minute scene into like a maybe like a 6 or 7 minute scene.
Yeah.
Like, you know, again, when I watched that director's cut. You know, there was a lot I didn't really care for about it, but there were some good things that he added. I thought was good, but the best thing that I think he added to that director's cut was just that funeral scene.
Yeah.
You know, the shot pans over to the kids and the wife, and they're crying, and you know, you see Duke crying in the background, and everyone's just, you know, they're really showing their emotion.
Yeah.
For their lost father, husband, brother. You know, like it's a tough scene. But I mean, that's really my main meh with the movie, is that I just feel like it's very quick paced.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could have been like maybe again 15-20 minutes longer.
For sure.
But that's my only meh about the movie.
Yeah. If that's the worst thing, that's
right.
They think you're still making a pretty damn good movie.
Absolutely.
So we can hop over to our final thoughts and ratings then. What do you want to leave off with Rocky 4, and what do you give it out of 10?
Great movie. I mean, it's like, it's up there. It's probably in my top 3, you know, for my favorite Rocky movies.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. For the rating, I think on Letterboxd, I gave it like an 8 out of 10, or, you know, like 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
I kind of want to raise my rating.
Yeah. Dude, whenever I talk about movies, it sometimes is like, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, okay, I can figure out my score.
Yeah.
More if I need to go up or down.
I'll be honest, I might have to move my rating to a 9.
Okay.
I think it's just a solid 9. It's a great movie.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
For me, we're sticking with solid numbers, man. This is another 10 out of 10. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're like, all right, we're through 4 movies in a franchise, and this guy's giving out 3 10 out of 10s. Now, That's how much I love this franchise, and I promise 5 and 6 will not be 10s. But man, that's what I mean by like if I need to pick me up, watching Rocky 1 through 4 is something that's sometimes my pick me up because those first 4 movies, and I'm not knocking 5 and 6, and we'll dive into 5 and 6, but those first 4 movies, it's some of the best
some
tetralogy work I've ever seen.
Yeah, some are perfect and some are just nearly perfect.
Yeah.
I mean,
like there's always that debate: what's the best trilogy of all time? If you stop making Rocky after the 4th one and it was just a solid tetralogy, I think it's up there with the best tetralogies of all time.
Absolutely.
So and 1, 2, and 4 are 10s, and honestly 3 is not too far behind.
Right.
So what a franchise.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Stallone, and everybody attached to these projects, because they're some of my favorite movies ever made.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you made me realize I need to get Rocky on the wall somewhere.
Yeah, I walked in there. I was like, "Do you have Rocky somewhere on the mural?"
No.
And you were like, "No, but I should get him added."
Yeah,
I was
maybe
like,
some hanging gloves or something. You know?
Absolutely.
Get some boxing gloves. But Buddha said she'd be down to add anything if I ever want anything added. So we'll have to figure out a spot.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for Rocky 4. Keaton, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, check out some other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. Stick around. 5 and 6 are coming next. Check out 1 through 3 if you haven't already, but we'll talk to you all very soon. Peace.